Hey, what's up there, you Scrutus Tube? So, I really wanted to get to something that really grinds my gears, man. Something that, really just kind of, it's a pet peeve of mine, but it's so fundamental in this fight for liberty and freedom that it must be addressed head on. And we all, if you're on the side of liberty and freedom, we must help to shift the language back on this one thing, and that is calling our country a democracy, which is wrong, versus calling our country a constitutional republic. Okay? We are not a democracy. We are a constitutional republic. And I want to clarify a couple things. Because some people use it saying, oh, we are fighting for democracy. Wrong. We should be fighting for a constitutional republic. Now, if you say, okay, well, they're mingling with our democratic processes, that's fine, because we do have democratic processes. We use democracy, and then we clip its wings, okay, to ensure that the minority gets the same rights as the majority. I hope this computes with everybody, because I feel like there's this fundamental misunderstanding that people think we live in a democracy. We do not, in any way, shape, or form, live in a democracy. Sure, our constitutional republic picks and uses democracy, but democracy on a face value is this. It is 51% of the people can tell the other 49% of the people how to live, how to eat, how to work, how to do everything. And that is not what we are. We're not a democracy. Democracies are awful. You don't want a democracy. You want a constitutional republic that uses the foundation of liberty and some principles of democratic processes to achieve a constitutional republic. So this is just a quick video because it's one of those like pet peeves that just really grinds my gears. I hear really smart people that I really respect, and then sometimes they'll say, but this is horrible for our democracy. Well, in my opinion, you've just delegitimized your whole conversation. So, to all you out there who think that we live in a democracy, make sure to do your research, figure out what you need to figure out, but you need to stop preaching for democracy, okay? You need to start preaching for self-governed constitutional republics that are built on the foundation of liberty, which happen to use some democratic processes. Okay, the election is a democratic process, but just because we have an election doesn't mean we're democracy. We don't just have popular vote. Okay, that would be democracy if you had everybody had the same say per se. Okay, now people have this problem with the Electoral College and say, oh, it's terrible because popular vote can't win. No, there's rules for reasons, okay? So the Electoral College, while flawed, is still better than direct democracy because it ensures that the people from Wyoming and places like that that are not part of liberal New York, or ignore I said liberal, not part of the metro centers of New York or Detroit or Los Angeles or Chicago. Those places, they tend to vote a certain way, and so, for example, if you're running for president, you've got to go to places like Wyoming. If you didn't have an electoral college, why would you ever go and rally in Wyoming or all these other offshoot states, Iowa, far off Midwestern places? No, it's to give those people the same say that that you have here, they'll be forgotten about. And so that's fundamentally what I'm talking about. We don't just have a popular vote. We don't do a lot of just straight up democracy. We don't. We have a constitutional republic in which the Constitution enshrines every single individual in this country who is a citizen the inalienable rights that either, whether you want to believe it's God or humanity has bestowed upon us, you can't take those away. 51% of the people cannot take those rights away from the other 49%. So every time you hear anybody using the words, we live in a democracy, or we're fighting for democracy, or we're doing anything for democracy, you've got to immediately question that individual because A, they don't know what they're talking about and they're ignorant, or B, they actually do know what they're talking about and they're actively subverting our country because they understand the difference, okay? So there's, in my opinion, there's only two possible outcomes from when you hear somebody say that we live in a democracy, or that's good for democracy. You could say that's a good democratic process. That's fine. You could say that, you know, the Electoral College is a good democratic process. You can say Electoral College is a horrible democratic process. It doesn't matter. Those are fine. I don't have questions. I don't take issue with that. But when you say, you know, we need to stand up for democracy, or we need to stand up for democracies all across the world. This is BS jargon. I'm telling you it is. And the king of that would be Bush first. Like Bush Jr. would say that constantly. Everything he did would be praising the glories of democracy. We need to go to Iraq to start a democracy. We need to go here to start a democracy. We must stand up for democracy. We must never let terrorism kill democracy. You know what you're saying. You're not stupid, Bush. You are the type of person who actively knows that we live in a constitutional republic, yet you go around confusing or effing people's heads up with this lie that they live in a democracy. So I'll call Bush out first, but Obama, you're not any different either. You do the same crap, or you did the same crap, okay? And I haven't noticed Trump saying it so much. Maybe he has. If he did, link me in the description, comment, what have you. I tend to see a lot less of it going on now than I did for the last 16 years, and it's driving me freaking crazy. Stop calling it a democracy. Certain things will push my buttons and I can go on for a long time, much longer than anybody should probably. But we live in a constitutional republic, and it is so paramount to anybody's understanding. Like, I think I might be honing in on, it's the thing that you need to know this first before you vote, okay? It's just one of those things where you better understand the difference. Like, how can I grab you and shake you and say, do you understand that you don't live in a democracy? Please, fundamentally understand that. Like, you shouldn't be voting if you don't know that, you know? So I don't know how many different ways I can beat this horse further beyond death, but if you catch my drift, just try to bring it up. Every time I hear somebody say that, I go off. I can't help it, because I'm like, you don't know what you're talking about, and you need to before you continue doing this, okay? Or you actually know, which is usually the part that, you know, people don't normally know. It's just that they have heard it so many times, regurgitated on the darn news or whatever. But yeah, we don't live in a democracy. I don't encourage democracy. I don't support democracy. I support constitutional republics that mimic our own. That's about it. I mean, I don't support... Basically, I support the will of the people of whatever sovereign nation to do whatever they want. But I would support them having a constitutional republic based on the foundations of and principles of liberty and justice, okay, more than I would some democracy. And if you notice, too, this is another thing I've noticed. And with coins, when I started doing coin collecting, that coins from around the world during, you know, periods of the 80s and 70s and things like that, they say on them in big letters, like as if it's some secret that's been held from the world, that says right on the coins, you know, Democratic Republic of blah, blah, blah. You know, places where since they were under Soviet satellite control, basically. The Soviets would come in and communize them, but then they would call them democracies, like, every single time. Maybe I'm wrong about that. I'm going from memory, but I've seen coins, you know, where it says right on it. Like, and I look it up, I'm like, the democracy of... Why would it say that if they're communists? And then you go look it up, and it's like a thing. Like, the communists, the Soviet satellite countries would go, and the Soviets would take them over, and then they would actually go and call them democracies. Gee, I wonder why. Because if you can convince enough people that they're free while they're totally living under a thug's boot heel, then, I mean, everything with communism is backwards. So this drove me nuts for so long. It's finally starting to go away, but now it's time for you to take that information and run with it, all right? Anytime you hear somebody telling you that we need to fight for democracy or that we live in a democracy, you need to stand up to them and educate them and don't do it in a fighting, bickering way. Just say, hey, listen, person, we do not, and I can prove this without a shadow of a doubt, okay? We do not live in a democracy. We live in a constitutional republic. This day and age, you have no excuse not to know this. I should be preaching. I'm probably preaching to the choir. This is probably a 12-minute video of me informing nobody because the people that probably watch my channel already know this stuff. So I don't mean for it to be an echo chamber or regurgitate ideas, you know, like this, but it's one of those, it really grinds my gears, and it really does grind my gears because it's really incorrect. So boom, tell everybody you know, quit spreading democracy, because what is that, okay? It's two wolves and a sheep, two big bad wolves and a little bitty sheep voting on what's for dinner. What do you think's for dinner? No. Tommy Boy style. All right, everybody have a great day. I'm about to hit the gym, man. Peace.